Welcome to the Rise Up Network, folks. I'm your host, James Carmody. Remember, the Rise Up Network is committed to sharing those stories of America's servant leaders, those men and women that are out there in the marketplace, making a difference, rising up their fellow men and women. I have a great servant leader in studio with me today. This man is an enrolled agent. He is committed to helping people with their wealth, their financial literacy, and just all around being a great human being. Karlton Dennis, welcome to the show, sir.
James, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. I mean, you have some of the most impactful content, I would say, that I see on social media. It's impactful, it's relevant, and it matters, and it looks good. Like you guys do it right. You have some fun with it. Like, I'm not going to lie, as a mortgage, financial nerd, taxes aren't the sexiest topic, but you guys make it look good and you have fun.
I was taught taxes in a very fun way. My mom had to figure out a way for me to understand taxes because she's owned a tax business since I was born. So I always ask my mom, what are you doing? I want to know, what is it about your job that is exciting? So she had to figure out ways to teach me taxes in funny ways. And so that's how I communicate now to other people so they can learn it in a more relaxed setting.
Wow. So it makes sense. So walk our network and our audience through, so mom started this business. Give us the way back when and kind of what was that path like?
Yeah. So mom started the business out of her household, raising my older brother, Kenneth. So she was just a solopreneur at that time. And then fast forward to now, she's owned the business for 29 years. Kenneth, my brother, joined the company 9 years ago and took over the marketing department and said, Karla, listen, you need a book and you need to get on TV. And so from there, I ended up getting some sales skills coming out of college. I joined the company. And she was all word of mouth and all book sales at that time. So I said, Karla, listen, we need to implement a sales department and start selling. So you're not doing all of that work yourself. And so she got to move into more of an accountant role. And now she's just in that CEO role where she just gets to run the operations. And it's been nice being able to join the company. I got my tax license and then I started working with real estate investors and business owners. And that's what I do now. Wow.
So family business, mom, the entrepreneur. And then sons come up and say, all right, mom, you're doing great. And now we got to add this to it. You got to step into business owner role. We need to put some systems and structure and some sales and marketing behind you.
And that's the part that I feel like I'm most proud of my mom for, is being open to take outside criticism from her children, even though she's been a boss and running her own business for over 20 years. She was open. She was open to letting my brother come in and saying, hey, I know you don't know what Facebook is yet, but you're going to create one and we're going to start posting on there. And I know you don't know what YouTube is yet, but you're going to have a channel and you're going to also start posting on there. And now we can say, as of 2021, 75% of all of our business comes from YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, which is just an incredible thing.
75% of your business comes from YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
Correct.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Folks, check that out. If you guys aren't following these guys, you should, which, it's simple. It's Karlton Dennis, KarltonDennis, across all the platforms. But if for nothing else, just to learn how social media is done. Wow. So I want to talk a little bit about family business, right? That definitely took some self-awareness on your mom's part and her being extremely humble. I'm being honest, my dad was a ship pilot, so it wasn't really you would bring people in. But I think if I tried to tell my dad a peep about his business, he would have smacked me down and be like, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
So good on your mom. What was that like?
When you get into a relationship, people are like, well, what's your wife or what's your husband's love language, right? Well, when you get into business with your parents, it's kind of like figuring out what's their business language. You have to figure out how does your mom like to do business, or how does your dad like to do business? What is their way of communicating? What has worked for them in the past? What things do they take on from outside peers and other resources versus what things do they always turn their head against? And so as I started learning about my mom, I noticed that she was very data driven. You can tell my mom a million things to her face, but if you can't show her on paper the numbers behind what you're telling her, she does not care. It's literally water on her back. So I had to get to a place where I had to show her data. Hey, Instagram is growing in this sense, and here's the data behind why you need to have a channel, and here's why it makes sense for you to post this often, not just once a month, right? And so data was how we were able to make decisions quicker and get her to really understand what needed to be implemented.
Exactly. Data is everything. Anyone that's in business knows, the data tells the story. We can all, but if you don't have the data backing it up, then it's all for naught. So mom says yes. So your older brother is kind of like that first family member outside of her to enter the business.
Yes.
And then what happens? How's it kind of go from there?
So from there, well, Kenny was in a place where he was trying to get my mother to spend more time outside of the business creating products such as an online course and books, when my mother was more or less trying to stay focused on trying to build the business. How can I bring on more accountants? And so it was a big divide where he had to spend more time outside of the 9 to 5 with my mother, developing a relationship and pulling her to create some of those products that we have today that are allowing us to bring on more CPAs and even more clientele. So for him, it was a bit of a transition. For me, it was coming in and really being able to see where my fit was. I didn't know anything about taxes. I had already had a job where I was learning about sales in a W-2 job role. So I was already paying taxes, wasn't really understanding what was going on. So I just had to sit and learn. And as I was sitting and learning how my mom was doing taxes and selling her business, I was realizing that, you know what? This isn't that hard for me to just study the business and real estate tax laws, because at the end of the day, there's only about 100 to 200 strategies that business owners and real estate investors are all using to pay or to avoid all the taxes that they want to avoid. So I started memorizing all of the strategies, and then I created a process around how I can sell these tax strategies to people and help them reduce their tax bill with my mother's team. And so that was the process I was able to create over some time. And since then, we've been able to grow the company to 7 figures and to do some of the things that we've been able to do now. So it's been exciting.
Wow. I love that. I mean, I love that, you take, all right, you've got sales skills, you've got sales bend, and mom's got all these skills with taxes. Your brother Kenny's now in the business, but you're like, wait a minute, we need to continue to push this further. And what is the need? What's the pain point? People don't understand those 100, 200 tax strategies and laws that you've now learned and mastered, but that people want to pay Uncle Sam less money. Yes. So, hey, I can do this, this, and this for you. I can save you X. Here's how we're going to do it. Meet the team. They're going to take care of it for you.
Yes. And there was, like you just said, that divide, James, where I had to tell my mother again, Kenny had his battle with my mom on trying to get her to understand some of the products she needs to create to stay ahead of the game. And I had the battle of telling her, hey, people don't want to talk to CPAs like the ones you hire. They want to talk to people like me who really don't communicate in those same ways that CPAs do with all this tax jargon, but can understand where they're at and what they're trying to accomplish. Like, hey, here's my problem. I don't understand what you know, but I need you to know that I'm trying to pay the least amount of taxes possible. Can we meet somewhere and figure that out? Right? Without you throwing all of this jargon at me and telling me to go to Google and read all these books. I just want to figure out what I need to do to pay the least amount of taxes possible. And me being able to understand that sales skills, right? Putting yourself in your client's shoes. Yep. I was able to create a process that allowed for us to sell my mother's services that she had already created. And so it pretty much highlighted her and the company even more.
So just creating that common language, so people can comprehend and understand, like, hey, here's the solution for the problem. You're explaining it this way, solutions this way. In the middle lies the answer.
And the answer truly came back to planning, because most taxpayers, they're so used to doing one thing, filing tax returns, right? All of our tax documents come in the months of January, February, March, and we get all of our tax documents and we go into our tax guide to do what? File our tax returns. But is that really us figuring out how to reduce our tax bill? We're just doing compliance, the yearly compliance piece that we have to do for the government. But what about all those other months, the 8 months that happen outside of April 15th when we're making financial decisions? And that's where the opportunity lies. If we can meet with clients throughout the year and figure out how we can leverage the tax codes based on financial decisions they're making, we can put them in a better financial position before they go in to file their tax returns. And so it was this shift that allowed us to sell tax planning even more so than we sell tax returns now.
Super smart. So now in the business, mom, son 1, son 2, anybody else from the family in the business?
Son 3 is in the business now.
Son 3 is in the mix. Okay.
Yes. His name is Cameron, and Cameron is now running our client service department. His major in college was communications. So when he came out of college, it was right at the start of pandemic, right before pandemic started. So we said, you know what, why don't you come work in the office and learn something right now during this whole time period as you're applying for jobs? Well, turned out that we needed him during that time period greatly because of the pandemic, everything that was going on. So he was asked to wear a couple of hats early on. He was able to get on the phone with clients. And now he has a team of individuals completely underneath him. And he's only a 23-year-old and he's running a full department. And it's just really exciting being able to see his leadership transition from when he was playing football and being a team captain on the football field to now like leading his own department inside of Karlton Dennis and Associates.
Got it. Love it. Okay. So we got mom and the three boys, with this company, just growing, expanding, adding value. I want to back up and just rewind just a second and talk about your personal story, right? So, where'd you grow up? What college did you go to? Why'd you choose that school, your major? And maybe one or two of the challenges you had along the way, some kind of pivotal decision moments in your life.
Yeah. So growing up, I grew up in Anaheim, California, and had to, I say had to, because my parents literally took that choice from me when I was 13, 14 years old, trying to decide where I wanted to go to high school. All of my friends were going to a public high school, and my parents pretty much told me, Karlton, you're going to this all boys Catholic high school called Servite. Turns out it was the best decision I could have ever made. Ended up meeting some of the best friends that I have here today. And business
at first, though, you were probably like, I don't want to do this. This is different. I have all my friends in my group over here.
I am definitely the difficult child, my mom would say. So I had the most resistant personality. And so when she told me that was happening, I said, no, it is not. Let's talk about this.
Right. Let's have a conversation. She's like, sure, you can talk all you want, but the decision's been made.
Yeah, the decision's been made. And that's when I started trying to work my sales skills early on before I even had a job, right? So fast forward through high school, I was in a very disciplined high school where you showed up to school with a shaved head. You had to wear certain socks, certain clothes every single day. And if you didn't, you're going to be in detention. I was practicing faith. And by the time I got off to college, I had completely changed who I was as a person, right? Extremely disciplined. And then I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo on a full scholarship. Wow. Well, when I got up to, I got a full scholarship for football. So I played football in college.
Okay. What position did you play in high school?
In high school, I played corner, and then I got the scholarship to play corner at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So a college in Central California. Is beautiful up there, by the way. But when I got up there, I realized a lot of the people up in Cal Poly, they love to enjoy themselves. They love to party. It was a very different environment than I was in back in San Luis Obispo. So it was kind of challenging for me early on, kind of setting myself aside from the rest of the football players who maybe didn't have the same upbringing as me, kind of really not having the same amount of friends early on, and also not having that starting position like I did just in high school. So I battled some challenges like any college person would. But one of the biggest challenges I battled was when I faced an injury in college. And it was an uncommon injury that you're not pretty used to. I broke one hand, and then the very next week, I broke my other hand trying to go back out and replay football. So I was in 2 casts with both of my hands broken. And the challenges that I had of just being able to do everyday living tasks, being able to go to class to try to pass my college exams, show up to my football meetings, and eat, do my laundry, and just live a life in college was the most difficult thing. Not to mention I lost my starting job because I couldn't play. Right. So mentally, I was starting to spiral a bit. And I had to reflect back to where my mental toughness came from. It came from the grit and grind and sacrifices I made in college with my high school coaches and professors. So I was able to get myself out of that rut. I had support. And now that I'm in this job force now, I look back at those times when I was struggling and I had broken hands, and it was a hard time even to be able to do some everyday tasks such as wiping or brushing your teeth or doing everyday tasks, right? Yeah. So I think about the phone calls I have right now and these difficult conversations I have to have with clients. And I look back at the fact that I had those broken hands. Nothing is as difficult as what I did in college, as what I'm doing right now. So I grind harder, I sacrifice more because of how I was shaped back in college.
Love that. Love that. We've all had our adversities, but it's in those adversities that starts to shape and build our character, which is the foundation for how we're going to respond and act when we've got breakdowns, whether it be business, personal, professional. Challenges come at us. And, I can't imagine what it was like to have 2 broken hands. I've had my challenges along the way. I mean, I'm a proud owner of a titanium left hip. I had a total hip replacement at 34 years old.
That sounds painful, James.
Having your hands, trying to do regular life skills and stuff. But it was that in those moments and those challenges, that laid the foundation. So you have the grit now and to be able to kind of persevere and handle different tasks and challenges?
Oh yeah, I still remember. I literally had gotten scissors and I was trying to cut one
Cut
of
them
my
off.
casts. I was trying to cut one of my casts off, and I got to a place where my scissors broke.
Oh my
And
God.
like I had like a half cutting off cast, and like the next day I had to show up to my coach's office, and they were looking down at me, and I just had a
Right.
half cast.
What are you
They're like, what are
doing?
you trying to do? Like, what
Just
are
do
you
what you're
trying to
told.
do? Do what you're told. And it was my mindset back then. I just wanted to play so much, and I
Sure.
was kind of spiraling. So, mental toughness is something that is not talked about as much lately.
Yeah.
But gosh, mental toughness in the business world is so important, because
Yeah.
sometimes there's not other people that are there with you when you're
Sure.
dealing with problem clients, or you're struggling, or you don't feel like you are going in the right direction.
Mhm.
How are you going to get yourself through it? What do you rely on? What do you roll back to?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? And let's talk about that a little bit. Right. We're coming off hopefully the tail end of a pandemic, which
Yeah.
14 months ago, I don't know about you, but I didn't even know what the heck the word pandemic meant. I don't think most of the world did, let alone coronavirus, COVID-19, like all those things. I mean, I've been working out of my garage for over a year. That
Yeah.
has its own sets of challenges. Speak to a little bit about, those folks who listen to this and maybe they've got some doubt, or maybe their confidence just isn't at the level where they want it to be. What would be some of the advice or suggestions that you would make, and some things they can do to kind of persevere?
Yeah. Well, first off, I know that every single person in this world deals with doubt. That is the one thing that you have to realize, is every person has dealt with it at one point in a time and another. So I practice gratitude as the most important thing. I'm
Mm.
grateful that there is doubt in the world. I'm grateful that others have experienced something that I'm experiencing right now, and that there is a way to get through it, rather than just thinking about the situation that you're in right now and how you're suffering. How about you shift mindset and be grateful that, hey, there's others that have been in similar situations that I'm in, and they've gotten through it. I'm grateful that I'm going to get through it. I just need to pray for courage, and I need to pray for clarity. And those are the two things that we're most looking for in our life right now. Right? We need to stay courageous to be able to face our problems head on a daily basis. But we need the clarity to see what is most important for us, and what type of energies we should be bringing into our life, and what type of energies we shouldn't be bringing into our life.
Love that. Love that. We're all human beings, and this brain is wired to have us survive. So anything that is a threat that occurs is fear is going to have us shut down or retreat. But here's the thing, folks, we think it's special to us. Like, I'm the only one that has this problem, or I'm the only one that has this fear. No, it's called being a human being, right? And I love that you come from a place of gratitude, because for me, gratitude is the foundation of happiness and joy. If you can look at what's the lesson in this hardship, I know I'm in pain right now, or I'm suffering, it occurs as difficult times, but God has a lesson for you in this. If you can be grateful for that, regardless of it, you will come out stronger on the other side.
And those who practice, I agree completely, James. And those who practice gratitude have the mental capacity to realize while they're in pain, to practice gratitude while they're in
I am working
suffering.
on that one myself, and I am not always great about it.
Me either, James. And this is why I love doing these, right? We get on here. I'm so grateful to be on this podcast with you right now, because I'm reminded of some of the struggles that I'm going through right this second, how my mental toughness is being challenged. And I'm on here teaching you guys about gratitude, and we're talking about it, right?
Yeah.
When me and James are dealing with these types of things every single day. So it's just being in that mental space to realize, hey, I need to be grateful while I'm in the space of suffering.
Yes. Yes. And now that's the skill, and that's the muscle to develop,
Yes.
Easier said than done, but I love that you're practicing. I am too. Want to talk about a couple things before we wrap up here.
Yeah.
One is, what do your participation out in the community? I know you guys are doing a lot in teaching people about taxes and saving the money and wealth and things like that. What are some of the things that you guys are excited about in the community that you guys participate in and or support?
Yeah. So one of the things that Karla, my mother, and I love doing is we do a lot of drives throughout the year. So outside of our food drive, we do a big clothing drive. It's just something that our company has done every single year.
Cool.
In the city of La Palma, Orange County, there was a big homeless problem going back to 1980. And so one of the things that my mother has done in the community is raised clothes over the last 10, 15, 20 years. And so it's always been a tradition that we had in our office. During coronavirus, we weren't able to provide those clothes to the organizations that we wanted to provide them to. So our office is now picking that back up this year. Outside of our drives, though, that we get back to, we set up our own events in the community. We're where we'll do a once a month event where it's just a conference that you can attend for 60 minutes to 90 minutes to learn about real estate and taxes. Our biggest thing is giving education back to the people. And it's the right type of education that's going to help you get to a place of financial freedom. And so we can do that with free educational seminars. We know that we're putting not just our clients, but anyone who could possibly be a potential client in a better position by offering those events.
Love that. Love that. I mean, education is the key. You know, where can people go to find out about these events? How can they catch up with you guys online? How do we find you?
Yeah, you guys can find us at www.karladennis.com. You can also visit my website. It'll be karltondennis.com. So don't want to confuse you. Both are spelled with K's. And then you can research Karlton Dennis on all social media platforms to learn more.
Love that. Love that. Karlton, this has been my honor to have you on. You know, I didn't have a set way that this conversation was going to go, and we covered a wide range. And I am like so grateful that you gave our community, the Rise Up Network, some time today to share your talents and treasures. So thank you. Parting words or thoughts that you want to leave our network with?
Well, the name of the network is the Rise Up Network. So if you're listening to this, how are you going to utilize the information that you got here today to rise up or to help someone else rise up in your community? At the end of the day, guys, all we can do is leave an impact on this earth, and it requires impacting someone else's life. So if you can take the information you learned here today to immediately apply it so you can help somebody else, man, you've done me and James a justice. So I just want to say thank you for the time today, James, and I look forward to connecting with you all.
Thank you for having us on. And, you know, I am going to underline that and reiterate that, folks, and charge you with, how are you rising up? How are you making your neighborhood, your community, your family, your company a better place? Get out there and rise up.